Hey everybody, this is Shirlene with Shirl's Crafty World.
.com.
And tonight in our BED series, number 5, we are talking about Through the Eyes of the Caregiver. And let me introduce you to Mr. Bob.
Hey folks.
AKA my husband. And we thought we'd bring him in because he is part of this as well. So,
AKA .com.
AKA Mr.com, yes. So I will ask him some questions and let him freely talk to you about it. For those of you who may be catching on for the first time, my name is Shirlene. I had stage 3 follicular thyroid cancer back in 2014. I endured a brutal radiation treatment, and then in 2015 I came down with thoracic spinal stenosis with degeneration, and my legs stopped working as well as they used to. So I was put on a walker. Then just recently my knees have been giving out. So I am not a skinny woman. And so it has been really hard over the years since 2014. Mr. Bob has been my caregiver.
And gladly.
I've been in the hospital a couple of times. I've been in rehab a couple of times. I've done rehab here at the house. But it gets hard. Although our faith is strong, in reality it gets hard. Nobody walks every day happy, so... Anyway, so, well, Mr. Bob, I'll let you talk for yourself. Where do you want to begin?
It is a challenge. That kind of goes with the territory. But you're my wife, darling, and I vowed to love you for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, so long as we both shall live. And it's my honor and my privilege to do the best I can to take the best possible care of you. It ain't always easy. It ain't always the best of the best, but I do what I can, and I try and make it good enough.
What bothers me is I was a very, very independent woman. My mom raised me that way, and that was one of the things that also attracted Mr. Bob to me. And I see him being overwhelmed and tired, and it frustrates me because I can't do more. My mind works at 4 things at one time. He explained to me his mind works at 1 thing at a time. And so I try to respect that, but there are oftentimes I'm like, why are you standing there? You could be doing something, And he's standing there to make sure that I'm good and I'm safe. Because he does go to a job outside the house, and he doesn't need to be worried about if I fall, and there's been at least one time I've fallen, and you weren't here, and I had to call you at work and tell you I'm down, and then you had to come home, and when he was almost home, I called 911, so they all pulled up at the same time, because 911 wouldn't have been able to get in the house, and I wouldn't have been able to get to the door. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
The worst one was the worst one was the first one, because I was at work.
Oh, the first time I fell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming back from a scrapbooking day with the girls. He actually dropped me off that morning, said, I'll come get you after work. I said, okay, because when we go scrapbook, it's usually like a 10 or 12 hour thing.
Yeah, and I was going to be at work for 10 hours.
Yeah, so my back was killing me all day. And so a friend of mine that was there, she said, I'm going home to feed my dog. I can give you a ride home. And I said, sure, no problem. And they had to help me to the car. My left leg had gone completely numb. I had to lift my jeans and put my leg in the car. So then when we got to my house, she got out. And I told her, stop at the sidewalk. I'll get out at the sidewalk, and then she can go up the rest of the driveway. And when I got out, she's like, oh, you want to hold on to me? And I said, no, I should be okay. I feel strong. I had the cane. But what I failed to realize is I live on a hill. And so I had turned my back to the downward part of the hill. And, of course, gravity pulled me down. So down I went. And she panicked. I jumped up on my elbows, like looking around to see if anybody was looking.
You're
Big
like, what the
woman
heck?
down, because nowadays folks don't help you. They just pull out the cell phone. So nobody was there, but I sent her to the neighbors to go get him, and he came running, and he tried to get me up, but he just couldn't. My legs just would not work. And even when 911 came and they tried to get me up, my legs would not work. So they had a person on each limb, and they lifted me up and put me in the gurney and stuck me in the ambulance and took me to the hospital. And I even fell in the emergency room because I had to go potty, and they were like, oh, we'll put you on a bedpan. I was like, no, you won't. I'm going potty. I can't pee in the bed. So I said, I'll just stand here on the side of the bed. And Mr. Bob said, well, I'll hold the bedpan for her. We were just going to, stick it between my legs and let her rip. Well, my legs said, no, you ain't. And down I went. I mean, I didn't even feel it. 1 minute I was standing, the next minute I was down on the ground. And he's hollering, help, help. So they come running, and they get me, they use a sheet to wrap around me and get me back up on the bed. And then they tagged me fall wrist. And I kid you not, I was not allowed up out of the bed for 4 days while I was in that hospital. They wouldn't let me do nothing. I was just like, oh, God. So what I wanted to discuss with through the caregiver's eyes is, Mr. Bob is not just my caregiver, he's also my spouse. So he technically right now is wearing 2 hats. And so I guess the question I want to ask is, do you find it difficult to be both husband and caregiver, or do you feel like there's a time you have to be husband and a time you have to be caregiver? And when I say that, I don't mean that, you don't act like my husband or whatever, but I mean just, do
Do
you
I
feel like,
concentrate on being a caregiver kind of thing?
no, do you just have like a time where your mind shifts into different roles kind of thing? Because a husband is caring, protective, romantic, that kind of stuff. And then a caregiver is just like trying to get you taken care of.
Not so much, because it all blends in together when because you're my wife, because I love you, because you need the care. I'm in it to make sure that you're good, that everything is the best possible way I can make it for you, so that your life is as easy as I can make it.
Tell us about when you feel helpless.
Well, when you're especially on days like like last week, you had that one day where you were hurting so bad, and there wasn't a darn thing I could do about it except be there for you, so that you knew that you weren't alone. That's the kind of thing that makes me feel helpless when you're in pain, when you're suffering, and there isn't a darn thing I can do to help.
And I'm taking all the drugs and it's not helping.
Yeah, that sort of thing. That is where it gets the roughest, because the last thing you want to see is your lady suffering. It's just, why is this happening? But it's happening. There, whatever's going to be is going to be. But you can't bear to see your spouse suffer.
Oh, my shoulder's hurting. Sorry. Oh. Do you feel like you've lost out on anything since my illness?
Well, there are a lot of things that we could have and would have done that your challenges have kind of inhibited, like being able to go out whenever we want, or being able to go on trips, or
But you can still go. I've never told you couldn't go.
That's true. But it's things like, I'd rather do things together than do things by myself. I can do things by myself any old time. But being able to, like, take you out to a show, or go for a walk in the park, or a concert, or a museum, or going shopping together. I miss going shopping together. I mean, I'm one of those rare guys that don't mind going shopping with his lady.
At the craft store at that.
I mean, take a screenshot and frame it. I'm one of them rare guys. I'm a qualified scrubby.
Scrapbook hobby.
Yeah, so and to this day, our workaround for that is for me to go to the store for her, and pull up the video on the phone, and we video shop, and we're still working a few kinks out of it, but we pretty much got it down pat to where we can find whatever we want, and right, here's what it is how's this look? Would you like it? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, because I took care of the house and the kids, worked a full-time job, went to college at night online, and he went to work. So I was still doing all of that. The kids they're growing and out the house, but I was still running the house and taking care of business until I got sick and couldn't do it no more. And now it just seems like my health has kind of consumed me, where before, I'd have the bills written out, who's getting what, how much of what, and when, and all of that. I took care of all of that, make sure the lawn man was here when he needed to be, and, just different things. I mean, I can only do so much from bed, where I
still
tend
do a lot of it.
Yeah, because like I said, there's only so much I can do from bed. But I crafting is keeping me sane, if I'm gonna be real about it. Because like I said, was used to being an independent soul. So I would, off I go. He knows I take the van, load her up, be like, leave Friday, see you on Sunday, and I'm up and down the East Coast going to scrapbook retreats and stuff, and he didn't have to worry about me. I call him and we talk on the phone and stuff, and let him know how things are going. And I was always vendoring Scentsy back then when I was selling Scentsy, and I was good. And then it's like everything came to a screeching halt. We never thought that I would get cancer. It doesn't run in my family. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything that could cause cancer. But I was a sugar addict. And cancer loves sugar.
And I will never forget getting that call to come down to the endocrinologist's office. And when they tell you to come down, the news isn't good.
And that was the quietest car ride we ever had. And even while we were sitting waiting to be called in, and even when they took us to the room, we still had to wait for the doctor to come in. And it's like you're waiting for the ball to fall. And then finally he comes in and sits in his little seat, and he says, I got the report back, and they found cancer. And so even then I wasn't shook. I was just like, okay, what we gotta do to fix it? And he says, well, we need to move fast because it's stage 3. And that's when I was like, what? So then I started doing my research, and I found out that it can take 5 to 6 years for it to get to that stage. And this is in the thyroid. So that explained so much for me, because so many times I was sick and didn't feel well or whatever, because the thyroid is basically the motherboard of your body. And my hormones and everything, motions, everything was all over the place. And they just blew me off. And it wasn't until the cancer was found. And I owe it to my PCP, because he was the one that says, I don't like this lump in your throat. Let's get this checked out. And sure enough, so this was right before Christmas I got the news. December 3rd, 2013. I had surgery January 14th. And then radiation was like in what, March, April?
Something like that, yeah.
I had to go on an iodine diet. And yeah, it was just
You had a low iodine diet.
low iodine diet.
Then
Then several doses, a couple of doses. A mild dose and then a heavy dose, I think, right?
yeah.
The bomb, I call it.
Yeah,
Because
they nuked her.
I literally had to sit in the back seat on plastic while he drove me home. He couldn't be near me for more than half an hour. Thank God we weren't that far away. Then he came home. He got out the car. He ran and opened up the front door, came back out the house, went across the lawn. Then I jumped out the car and ran in the house and went to the back room where I was locked up for 6 days with no human contact because they couldn't come within 6 feet of me.
Yeah, the closest I could come was the door, and that was hella rough.
And that was long as I wasn't near the door. So yeah, even my son was like, "I don't care, Ma, you my mom." I had to tell him, "Yeah, but if you come near me, you could get sick because I'm radiating." I had to eat with plastic spoons and forks and stuff like it. It was just bad. So now that I'm not the Shirlene that you married, how does that affect you?
But in many respects, you still are, because we married in spirit long before we married in body.
That's true.
We got to know each other.
We're the results of an online relationship.
Yeah.
Before, when it was still taboo back in 2000.
Yeah, back when folks would look at you like you had two heads.
What? What if he's an axe murderer? I will never forget when I told people I was coming to Connecticut to meet him to find out if what we had was real or was it just fantasy. And they were like, "What if he locks you up and put you in the basement and all kind of?" And they even called his house while I was there. And was like, "Are you locked in the basement?" I was like, "If I was locked in the basement, would I be answering the phone? Really? You guys, your imaginations is out of control. I'm fine. He's not. He's a very kind young man. He even went to work and left me here at his house. Who does that?" I was like, "I'm fine." They were like, "Okay."
And if I'd have had a second car at the time, she would have had a key and been able to go places.
Yeah. Well, we still got to go places, but so you don't feel that I've changed, or it hasn't changed how you feel about me.
No, it hasn't changed the way I feel about you at all, because I grew to love your mind and your spirit long before we got physically involved with each other.
Okay, so we discussed feeling helpless, with the pain and everything. What are your hopes for our future?
My hope for our future is that we can eventually get you back on your feet to where you're going places more easily, that you can get around, if not the way you used to, at least to be able to go out and enjoy life and not be stuck in here.
Yeah.
And I want to tell the world that this lady here saved my life. While she was dealing with her challenges, she still had the presence of mind when things were hitting the fan for me to call 911 and get the ambulance here and get me to the hospital.
The stairs, holding on to that banister for dear life. Get down the stairs to open up the door. I was on adrenaline to open up the door so that they could come save my husband. And they took him out of here, and he was clinically dead when the ER called me and said that his heart rate was down to 20. And I can't even tell y'all. I held it together while I talked to the man. When we hung up, I cried because I was like, "Lord, don't let him die," because I was sitting here in this house. My knees were working back then. I was still on a walker, still bad back. I was home alone. I had never been alone in my current condition for more than hours, 8-hour, 10-hour shift, whatever he's working. This was 4 days. And I was making phone calls to family and stuff, and they were worried about me because I couldn't go down. Even if I ordered food, I couldn't go down the stairs and get it. It was too much of a risk. And I tell you, I had to hobble through the hallway on my walker and get to the kitchen. I never knew how hard it was going to be just trying to cook and stuff. But I would throw things together and put it in like a cooler and bring it back to the bedroom to save myself from having to run back and forth because my back just was not having it. And then, of course, the drugs they give you knock you out. They make you drowsy. So I really didn't want to be up in here. And then if I fell, who was I going to call? That's after all of that, we learned to change things. So now I keep my cell phone with me, and he just bought me I call it the life button, but he just
panic button.
We just got a panic button for me, so I have to wear it, which I ain't crazy about. But if anything happens, I push my button. I've fallen and I can't get up, and they come get me. How do you feel? Because you're a man of faith as well.
Yes.
Okay, so we both love the Lord.
Amen.
How do you feel about being a man of God, a man of faith, seeing me go through this? Does it affect your love for God? Does it affect your faith in God? Does it?
In point of fact, it just makes me love the Lord more, because without Him, as rough as things are, it could still be a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And He's between you and Him, both of y'all saved me, because I remember on the way down, all I could think of was don't take me away from Cheryl. Who's going to take care of Cheryl?
See, in his moment of distress, he was more worried about me. Who's going to take care of me? Even though he was laying on a ambulance stretcher just about dead because his heart wouldn't beat right. Thank God, they were able to give him a little electrical box, whatever they got inside of him, that if his heart starts acting the butt again, it'll regulate it. So he doesn't have to worry about that. But it took them a little while to figure out what was wrong with him. And it had to come to that. It had to come to him collapsing on the bed and seizing. It scared the bejesus out of me. And me grabbing the phone faster than I could realize and calling 911 to get someone over here. By the time I was doing that, he woke up. And he was so out of it. And I said, you just lay there. They're on their way. And he was like, who's going to open the door? I was like, I'm going to open the door. Don't worry about who's going to open the door. I don't care if I had to sit on that step and go down each step on my butt. I would get those people in here to help my husband. It was just, like I said, I was on adrenaline. It didn't hit me until they closed the door. They were real nice. They closed the door for me so I didn't have to go back down the stairs and lock the bottom lock. And when the house was quiet, I cried, but then I was pissed, you guys, because they left all their junk on my bed, all their trash, their ambulance trash or whatever. And my mom said, that's the least of your worries. I was like, but still, just respect my house, You could have handed it to me on your way out or something. Just left all their trash, Just if you ever seen like a scene after the ambulance coming to taking care of somebody out in the street, they just leave all the packaging and crap and gauze and all that mess. And they, because somebody will clean it up. Well, here at the house, I don't have somebody to magically appear to clean it up. I had to do it, but I know they were trying to get leads on him and get his heart pumping and stuff. And I could tell he was bad. They took him out of here and he was gasping for air. And I'm standing there like, I didn't even get to tell him I loved him because they were rushing him out of here so quick. And they were just making sure I was good as best they could, because they're not here to babysit me. But it's things like that that bother me. Sometimes I think about if something ever happened to Bob, would I be able to help him again? Would I be able to get to him? Would I be able to get help to him? I have to tell you, I feel very vulnerable, and I feel very exposed, I guess you could say. Like I can't help myself, and that's the worst way to feel, to go from 100 to 0 in a span of a year. It really shook me. I think I spent a couple of years just in shock and just trying to deal with it. And when you have an illness, you go through the phases of grief and anger and not acknowledging what's really going on. And it took me a minute to even realize I had cancer, you guys. Oh my God, I had cancer. I was like, oh my God, I could have died,
Yeah.
But I fought and I got through it. And, now I'm dealing with the spinal stenosis, which is rough. That's been the roughest thing for me. It wasn't the cancer. It's the spinal stenosis, because it took my legs away. I mean, I can stand on them and they still move. But if I try and walk without that walker, I'm on the ground in 2.5 seconds. And it's just, and then not to talk about the pain and and I have some other conditions too that you guys don't need to know all my business. That's what they got HIPAA laws for. But it's just a combination of everything. It just wears on a person. And, but it's my faith that keeps me going, and my wonderful husband that is here to help me.
And I have some understanding of that helpless feeling because of some short-term injuries that I had that left her back in the day having to basically do my job.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I had an injury and she had to go out there and shovel, and I'm standing in the living room looking out the window, feeling helpless, feeling in tears, literally.
And that's when we had heavy snow.
Yeah.
It was a good 4 to 6 inches out there. It was a lot of snow. And I remember having a conversation with God while I was shoveling, throwing snow, because I'm like, I had to make a path. Because if anything had happened to him, I had to make a path for emergency personnel to be able to get to the house. Out here in Connecticut, and I'm in a high school way where the school bus come up and down our street. And so there's a lot of kids around, so we have to make sure the front of our house is shoveled. That's just town law. So it had to be done, and I just stepped up to the plate. That's me. That's always been me. I just stepped up to the plate and took care of business. I always go into general mode when it's time to take care of business. I cry later, but right now I got to take care of business, and that's how I've had to look at my condition. Is like, it's time to take care of business. The weight seems to be the common denominator in a lot of what I'm going through, what the doctors say. So I got to get rid of the weight. Now, how many people can lose a whole lot of weight from bed? Well, I got my stretch bands, and I'm going to start using them. And I get up and walk around as much as I can. A lot of times, just walking to the bathroom and coming back, I'm sweating so bad because it's so hard for my body to make that trip. But I do it. I do it because I don't want to. There's a show called My 600 Pound Life, and I watch it every now and then on YouTube. I don't want to be one of those people, and I'm not looking down at them in any kind of way, because we're all God's children, but I don't want to go there. And it's so easy when you're in the bed all the time because of your condition. Mr. Bob needs to know that he needs to be able to do his job at work and know that I'm safe, because he does a very detailed job. If he messes up something in one of those helicopters, like he said, there's no place to pull over up there. That thing is coming out the sky, so he has to be detail oriented and focused on what he's doing, and not worried about what's happening back at the house with the wife. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, because it's almost half an hour now that we've been talking. Do you have anything else you want to share with the people, hon?
Maintain your faith. Stand firm in the Lord. Stand firm in your love for your spouse, and that'll get you through virtually anything.
And if you are someone that's dealing with chronic illness or depression or anything like that, or cancer, and you don't have someone, God is there. He cares.
Amen.
He cares, because not everybody has someone. If you don't have family or somebody, God is there and He can help you get through it. Okay? I want to thank everybody for checking in to BED series number 5, Through the Eyes of the Caregiver. This is Shirlene with Shirl's Crafty World.
.com.
Be blessed.